Many years ago, nestled deep in the peaceful village of Umunna, there lived a bright-eyed girl named Chinaza. Her life began in sorrow, for her mother died during childbirth, leaving her father Isu to raise the baby alone. Chinaza grew up with a quiet strength, a spirit that shone even in silence. When she was just 4 years old, her father remarried a woman named Obioma. At first, Obioma seemed gentle and nurturing. She cooked delicious meals, sang lullabies, and even played with little Chinaza under the mango tree. But everything changed the moment Obioma had her own daughter. Adaure. Chinaza was thrilled to have a younger sister. She wanted to be the perfect big sister, braiding Adaure's hair, sharing her porridge, even singing her to sleep. But Obioma wouldn't allow it. She forbade Chinaza from going near her daughter. Worse, she constantly reminded Chinaza that she was motherless. "You are not one of us," Obioma would hiss. "Your mother left you behind. Go cry to her grave." Chinaza often ran to her father, weeping and pleading for comfort. But over time, Obioma had gained so much power in the home that Isu felt helpless. "She means well," he would mutter, though his eyes said otherwise. As years passed, the two girls blossomed into young women, beautiful in their own ways. But while Adaure was treated like a queen, Chinaza became the household slave. Obioma ensured she did everything: sweeping, cooking, going to the stream, collecting firewood. Chinaza worked from dawn till nightfall with barely enough food to sustain her. Meanwhile, Adaure stayed indoors, pampered and spoiled, draped in fine fabrics and oils. Chinaza, on the other hand, wore torn wrappers and bathed only once every 2 days on Obioma's orders. "You must remain ugly," she sneered. "The prince must never look at you." Chinaza's father, Isu, watched this mistreatment in silent agony. His health declined as regret poisoned his soul. "I should have never remarried," he would whisper to himself. Eventually, the burden was too heavy. He passed away from high blood pressure, leaving Chinaza orphaned and completely at Obioma's mercy. With her father gone, things became worse, but life, as unpredictable as the wind, was about to take a turn. Far away, in the royal palace of Umunna, a long-awaited homecoming was stirring. The village prince Ekenna had been sent abroad at age 6 to study in the cities. He had just completed his education and was now returning to fulfill tradition, to choose a wife from among the maidens of the land. As was custom, the king Uzo instructed his trusted secretary, Mazimitsu, to select 6 of the finest young women in the land to stay in the palace for 2 months. During this time, they would be evaluated not only for their beauty but also their character. Among those selected were Adaure, Chinaza, and 4 other village maidens. When Obioma heard this news, she went into full preparation mode. She purchased expensive skincare oils, lightening creams, and silken robes for her daughter Adaure. "You must shine like the morning sun," she said. Adaure admired herself in the mirror, her skin glowing like milk. She twirled and grinned, convinced she was already the future queen. Meanwhile, Chinaza was burdened with even more work. Obioma commanded her to scrub the entire compound, fetch water, and cook every meal. "And remember, you must only bathe once in 2 days," she snapped. "You should look sick and dry before the prince. You don't deserve attention." One day, as Chinaza was struggling to carry a heavy pot of water, a kind villager named Mama Nnenna passed by. She watched the cruelty of Obioma and Adaure in silence before finally speaking. "Adaure, what you're doing to Chinaza is wrong. The world turns like a wheel. No one knows what tomorrow holds. This girl may shine brighter than you think. You are planting seeds, but beware of what you may harvest." "God forbid," Obioma shouted. "My daughter is the future queen of Umunna. Chinaza, she will rot in our backyard." Adaure laughed and added, "Try to have a mother in your next life." "Poor Chinaza." Mama Nnenna shook her head slowly. "May the earth, the trees, and the spirits witness that I have spoken. May truth reveal itself in time." Chinaza's silent cried. The sun was setting on the eve of departure. The 6 chosen maidens were to leave for the palace of Oba Uzo the next morning. It was a chance at a new life, especially for Chinaza. Once, she could eat, rest, bathe, and simply exist without being scolded, slapped, or starved. Even if she wasn't chosen as queen, she could at least breathe freely for 2 whole months. That night, Chinaza sat by the window of her small room, the moonlight casting silver rays over her worn face. She whispered a prayer with tears rolling freely. "O Lord, I commit every pregnant woman into your hands. May they not die in childbirth like my mother. May their children never suffer as I have suffered. I have no mother, no father, no food, no clothes, no shoes, no friends, just me and my tears. But even in this pain, let your will be done. If going to that palace is part of my destiny, please let it come to pass." Morning came. Adaure was dressed in a dazzling wrapper with gold beads and layers of fine bangles. Obioma arranged all her lotions, perfumes, and dresses into a shiny box. Chinaza, with no box or fine clothing, wore her only decent wrapper and tied her scarf tightly. Her heart was beating fast with both fear and hope. As she stepped forward to join Adaure at the gate, Obioma barked, "Get back inside. You are not going anywhere." Chinaza froze. For a moment, she tried to remain calm, but then did something she had never done before. "Why, Mama? Why can't I go?" she asked. That was enough to earn her a hot, stinging slap across the face. "You dare speak to me like that, you orphan? You want to go and tell the king that I starve you? That I give you rags to wear? That I treat you like dirt?" Obioma screamed. "Listen to me. I am not your mother. Your weak and useless mother is in the grave. Go. Speak to her if you have something to say." Adaure snickered and added mockingly, "Tell the king that you declined the offer. Tell them to go to hell." "Poor Chinaza," she added, flipping her scarf with pride. "Try to be born rich in your next life." Adaure marched out of the compound, box in hand, hips swaying proudly. Chinaza stood in silence, her vision blurry with unshed tears. For the first time, she considered ending her life. "Maybe it's better if it just ends now," she whispered to herself. Just then, Mama Nnenna appeared, again like an angel sent from above. "What is going on here?" she demanded. "Why hasn't Chinaza left yet?" Obioma quickly stepped in, pretending all was fine. Mama Nnenna, it's nothing, just some confusion." But Mama Nnenna turned to Chinaza and asked directly, "My child, tell me the truth." And Chinaza did everything. She told her how she had been forbidden to go, how she had been made to work from dawn till night with no proper food, how she was made to bathe once in 2 days, and how the dress she wore was her very best. Mama Nnenna's eyes burned with anger. "Obioma, you woman of this village, where is your conscience? This child has no one left in this world, and instead of covering her like a cloak, you've exposed her to torment." Chinaza, trembling, said, "Mama, please, I don't want to live anymore. Let me die. I can't keep living like this." Mama Nnenna held her hands tightly. "No, Chinaza, you are a child of destiny, and no matter what Obioma or her daughter does, your purpose will shine. I will not allow you to die. You must go to that palace." Turning sharply to Obioma, she declared, "If you do not allow her to go now, I will report you directly to the king. Your daughter will be evicted. Both of you will be disgraced." Obioma was struck speechless. Chinaza was finally free. Mama Nnenna took her to her house. She gave her a warm bath, some rice to eat, and a few of her own daughter's clothes. China, overwhelmed with gratitude, cried again, but this time they were tears of hope. With Mama Nnenna's blessing, she left for the palace. When she arrived, the palace gates had already closed. She knocked gently. "Please, please don't turn me away," she begged the gatekeeper. "My stepmother tried to stop me, but somehow, God brought me here." The gatekeeper looked torn. "The king has already seen the guests. If I let you in now, I could get into trouble. Wait, let me go and ask." He rushed to the king's chambers. "Your Majesty, there is one more maiden at the gate. She says she was delayed by her stepmother." Oba Uzo nodded. "Let her in. I was told earlier that one was missing." The gatekeeper returned and opened the door. "You are lucky," he said. "The king has given his approval. Come in quickly." Chinaza walked into the palace, her heart racing, her eyes wide with wonder. The walls gleamed with gold. Everything smelled of hibiscus and cedar. For the first time in her life, she saw beauty she never imagined she'd experience. Each girl was assigned a room. Chinaza was placed with a kind-hearted girl named Obioma. Unlike Adaure, Obioma greeted her warmly. For the first time in her life, Chinaza slept in peace. The palace of Aba Uzo was a place of unimaginable beauty, vast gardens, white marble floors, and melodies that danced through the halls each morning. For Chinaza, it was a world unlike anything she had known. Each maiden had been paired in rooms. Chinaza shared her chamber with Obioma, a gentle girl with curious eyes and a soft laugh. The two became fast friends. The king had not revealed the reason behind the 2-month stay, and though whispers floated among the maidens, No one knew that hidden cameras had been installed across the palace. Oba Uzo had ordered it in see not only beauty, but behavior. During the first week, the girls behaved well. They dressed modestly, participated in palace chores, and followed all royal instructions. But in the second week, competition began to unfold. Chinaza, having been raised with discipline and hard work, naturally stood out. She was humble, respectful, and always busy helping others, especially in the palace kitchen, where she cooked and cleaned without being asked. Her meals, though simple, were delicious. The palace maids began to love her like one of their own. She didn't behave like she was in a contest. She behaved like someone grateful just to be safe. This irritated Adaure, whose pride could not accept being overshadowed by her ragged stepsister. She's trying to make me look bad, Adaure complained to the other girls. A girl like Chinaza doesn't belong here. I need to get her out. Meanwhile, Chinaza tried her best to avoid conflict. She smiled, worked quietly, and never joined in the gossip. When others flaunted their gowns and perfumes, she wore her one simple wrapper with pride. She had come for peace, not power. Back in her room, she would sometimes cry at night, but they were tears of gratitude. At least I have food. I have a roof over my head. Thank you, Lord, she whispered into her pillow. But trouble was brewing. Elsewhere, one of the maidens, Ndidi, began sneaking off at night to meet one of the palace guards in secret. They had fallen into temptation, and soon she was pregnant. When the king learned of it through the hidden surveillance, she was immediately evicted from the palace in shame. Adaure saw this as a warning, but it didn't stop her mother Obioma from acting. One morning, Obioma snuck into the palace grounds, hidden under a wrapper and shawl. She carried with her a small jar of charm oil, enchanted by a native priest. She handed it to Adaure with a written instruction: "Rub it on your tongue." The note read, "Before you greet the prince, he will fall for your every word. He will love only you." Adaure followed the instruction the very next morning. She woke early, entered the prince's chamber, and with her sweetest voice said, "Good morning, my prince." Immediately, Prince Ekenna was enchanted. His eyes softened, his thoughts clouded. The spell worked. From that moment on, he began favoring Adaure above the others. She sat beside him during meals. She followed him during strolls. She even started ordering servants around like a queen. "I am the chosen one," she would whisper proudly. But Chinaza, unbothered, continued her quiet life. She remained focused on helping in the kitchen and bonding with the palace staff. She never sought the prince's attention. One day, as she peeled yam under a tree, the chief palace guard, a strong and calm man named Obioma, came to sit beside her. "You work harder than anyone here," he said with a smile. "I'm used to it," Chinaza replied. "It's all I know." They talked for hours. Chinaza opened up about her childhood, her stepmother, and her dream to one day live in peace. Obioma listened quietly, then said something that shocked her. "If I had riches, Chinaza, I would marry you today." She looked at him, stunned. Then she smiled and said softly, "You don't need riches for me to love you. If we both work here, save what we earn, and leave together, we can build a future." "Are you serious?" Obioma asked. "I've never been more serious," she replied. But just as they were dreaming of better days, chaos broke out again in the palace. Adaure, feeling threatened by Chinaza's growing favor among the staff, began planting lies. She accused Amara, another maiden, of speaking ill of the prince. The prince, still under charm, believed her immediately. "How dare you insult my chosen one?" he barked. Amara was thrown out that very day. Now, only 3 girls remained: Adaure, Chinaza, and Jeoma. The palace had become a battlefield of silent wars. Chinaza, tired of the tension, approached Obioma again. "I want to speak to the king," she said. "I want to drop out of the competition. I'd rather serve as a palace maid. That's where I belong. I just want peace." Obioma looked hurt. "But we spoke about a future together." "I still want that," she whispered. "But if I stay in this competition, I may not live long. The envy here is too much. Please, speak to the king on my behalf. Help me get a job in the palace kitchen." Obioma held her hands gently. "Chinaza, I'll do everything in my power to protect you. I won't let your light go out." The hidden crown, the palace of Umunna, was preparing for the final royal selection. With only 3 girls left, Chinaza, Adaure, and Obioma, tensions ran high. The prince, still under the charm's influence, publicly declared that Adaure was the one who tickled his fancy, and palace servants began referring to her as the soon-to-be queen. Adaure's pride swelled. She began to treat Chinaza and Obioma like maids. She barked orders, hoarded food, and mocked their clothes. But Chinaza, unmoved by the chaos, focused her mind on one thing: earning a place as a palace cook. She had long given up the dream of being queen. All she wanted was to be safe, to have work, to be free from Obioma's cruelty forever. So she came up with a plan. She approached Obioma, the chief palace guard and her closest ally. "Please," she said, "let me cook for the remaining days here. I want the king to eat my food and remember my name not as a contender, but as a servant." Obioma hesitated. "But Chinaza, your meals may win his heart more than Adaure's." "Charms, are you sure you want to be behind the kitchen doors forever?" Chinaza nodded gently. "Yes, I want to live in peace." Obioma gave her access to the royal kitchen. That same day, Chinaza prepared a humble but delicious dish: bitter leaf soup with pounded yam. The flavors were subtle, perfectly balanced. The kitchen staff watched in awe as she worked with quiet precision. When the meal was served, King Oba Uzo raised an eyebrow. "Who cooked this?" One of the guards bowed. "Your Majesty, it was Chinaza, one of the maidens." Oba Uzo paused, then smiled. "No wonder. A meal prepared with humility and love always tastes divine." Unbeknownst to everyone, the king had been watching everything through the palace's hidden cameras. He knew about the charm. He knew Adaure's behavior. He saw how Chinaza chose kindness every single day. Later that evening, the king called Prince Ekenna for a private conversation. "My son," he said gently, "what do you truly think of Chinaza?" "She's kind," the prince responded slowly. "She's very different, but Adaure is who I feel drawn to." Oba Uzo leaned in. "And if I told you that your feelings were not truly yours, that a charm was used against your will?" The prince blinked. "What?" Oba Uzo showed him footage of Obioma sneaking in, Adaure rubbing something on her tongue, and the prince's odd behavior afterward. Prince Ekenna's heart sank. The charm's fog began to lift. At the same time, outside in the garden, Adaure was plotting something drastic. She was furious that Chinaza still remained, despite everything. She picked a fight with Obioma, hoping to stir another scandal, but Obioma was calm and wise. She walked away. Frustrated, Adaure cornered Chinaza instead. "You think you can steal my destiny?" she spat. "You'll leave this palace crawling, mark my words." But Chinaza, as always, stayed silent and walked away. The next morning, Adaure was whispering to her mother near a hidden corner of the palace, unaware that hidden cameras were capturing every word. "Is the charm still working?" Obioma asked. "Mama," Adaure grinned, "I am practically queen. I sleep in the prince's bed. I speak and they all bow." Obioma chuckled. "Then I should start preparing to become mother-in-law to royalty." And Chinaza? Adaure laughed. "She will serve me tea and sweep my room every morning." But fate had its own plan. That very afternoon, Oba Uzo summoned a closed-door meeting. All villagers were invited. The entire palace courtyard buzzed with anticipation. The king stood tall before the crowd, his voice rich with authority. "My people of Umunna, today is the day our future queen shall be revealed. As you know, 6 maidens were chosen. 3 were disqualified due to conduct unfit for royalty. The final 3 remain." He motioned forward. Adaure, adorned in fine lace and gold. Obioma, dressed modestly, full of grace. Chinaza, in a simple top and skirt borrowed from Mama Nnenna, stood humbly beside them. Asterisk. According to tradition, the king continued, the prince must make his declaration before all of you. But before we proceed, allow me to reveal something. The crowd hushed. "You all know our son, Prince Ekenna, left at the age of 6. You have not seen him in years. And none of you knew that the man walking among you these past weeks was not merely a guard." He turned dramatically. "Behold Prince Ekenna, heir to the throne of Umunna." The crowd gasped as Obioma, the man they had known as the chief guard, stepped forward and removed his helmet. Chinaza's jaw dropped. Her heart raced. Obioma nearly fainted. Adaure screamed, "No, it can't be." The prince turned to the people and said, "This plan was designed by my father to observe true character. And in these 2 months, one woman has shown me what it means to be royal not by birth, but by heart." He walked toward Chinaza and gently took her hand. "The future queen of Umunna is no other than Chinaza, daughter of grace. child of destiny. Tears welled up in Chinaza's eyes. She was frozen, unable to move. The prince turned to the guards. Bring her royal gown. Wrapped in flowing silk and gold embroidery, Chinaza was transformed into the queen she was always destined to be. Adaure, on the other hand, collapsed in disbelief. Obioma tried to run forward, shouting, "Wait, the girl is a liar, a thief." But the guards restrained her. Oba Uzo raised a hand. "Enough, we have seen the truth." Adaure and Obioma were banished from the palace to live with the shame of their own choices. The crown that chose Hertha, royal courtyard of Umunna, trembled with applause as Chinaza, now adorned in royal garments, stood by Prince Ekenna's side. But she remained still, her lips trembled, her eyes wet, her breath shallow. Was this real? The prince gently wiped her tears and whispered, "You were born for this. You just didn't know it yet." The palace guards stood at attention. The maidens bowed. The people of the village cheered except for two who couldn't even lift their faces. Adaure and Obioma, humiliated and trembling, tried to slip away, unseen. But Oba Uzo raised his voice one last time. "Adaure, daughter of deceit. Obioma, woman of wickedness. You plotted, lied, and used sorcery to take what was not yours. Today, I strip you both of any honor you carried in this land. May the shame you brought upon yourselves teach others the cost of envy and evil." With that, the guards escorted them out, through the back gate, not even worthy to exit through the front, back inside. Chinaza stood still in the great hall. She looked at her reflection in the polished floor, the silk on her shoulders, the gold on her head, and the girl beneath it all. "I don't deserve this," she whispered to Mama Nnenna, who had been invited to witness the final ceremony. Mama Nnenna held her hand tightly. "No, you didn't steal this crown. The crown chose you. You were refined in the fire of suffering. And what came out of that fire is royalty." Later that night, in the quiet of her new chamber, Chinaza sat with Prince Ekenna now. Her fiancé never came here to be queen, she said. "I know," he smiled. "You were just looking for peace. But your heart was too pure to be ignored." She turned to him and asked softly, "Do you still want to marry a girl like me?" He took her hand. "I want to marry the girl who turned a palace upside down with nothing but humility and a heart of gold. I want to marry the one who fed my father meals he still dreams about. I want to marry you, Chinaza, not because you're now a queen, but because you were one before anyone noticed." 3 months later, the village of Umunna gathered again, this time for the grand wedding of Prince Ekenna and Queen Chinaza. The village sang, danced, and celebrated not just a union but a powerful redemption. Even former palace workers returned to honor her, including the kitchen maids who now called her our queen with pride and love. As Chinaza stood beside her husband, her heart whispered a quiet prayer to every child who feels forgotten, to every orphan abandoned in the shadows, to every girl mocked for having nothing. May your story end in glory like mine. Because sometimes, even when the world turns its back, God is writing a royal ending. And so, the girl who once bathed once in 2 days became the queen who bathed the kingdom in grace.